What's going on, guys? Josh, JayMike, Boot Nerds, episode 11. What's up, Jay?
What's up, my man? Good to be back. Before we do anything else, guys, if you're out there, remember to like the video, of course, if you appreciate it. And remember that in order to get all your questions answered, you can ask some questions right down in the comment section below. That's your way of interacting with us. So thank you for letting us know if you like it or hate it and interacting. That's basically what we're here for. And with that said, now we have a pretty good episode coming up today. I feel we're going to talk about or rate every big boot on the market. Basically, that's what we're going to do today.
Every brand, every boot.
Every brand, every boot. Of course, not every boot because we're not going to do takedowns, right?
No, and we're going to stick to current models, not the entire history of football boots.
Yeah, that would be a little bit difficult. Do you want to start with like the big brands, or should we kind of build the tension by starting with the smaller brands, maybe?
I'll let you make that call.
Okay, you know what? Let's then start off with some of the smaller brands then, because I really want to jump into New Balance.
Okay.
And just so you guys know, we're rating the boots out of 10. We were talking about should we do like letter grading or something like that, but we don't have that here in Europe, so I was pretty clueless on it. So apologies for that.
I had no idea that wasn't a thing over there. But I guess before we get started, let's talk about, criteria in terms, because I think we're only going to give one rating.
Yeah, exactly.
Per model. So I think it needs to be based off of comfort, overall fit, touch, traction, and while I don't think weight is super important, I think it's a major factor in modern football boots.
Absolutely agree. And when I did my ratings, I did it before I cheated. I'm sorry. I'm one of those TV chefs. But when I did them, I thought, okay, what's the performance like? What's the fit like? Touch, traction, all that stuff. But also, where is it in terms of innovation and overall quality of the product in today's market?
Yeah, there's lots to factor in. I guess we'll discuss where we're coming from with each of these ratings.
Yes. And
because I kind of hate ratings in general. Because I feel like it doesn't tell the whole story. But we're going to try to tell a little bit of a story before we give a rating.
Exactly. So without further ado, let's jump into New Balance and start with the Furon 5. And I can let you right now that I have rated I'm just looking at my list here. I have rated the Furon 5 a, should we say, relatively conservative 6 out of 10.
I think that's fair. I was going to be 6 or maybe 6.5, being a little bit generous. But okay. I think it's an improvement over all past Furon models, for sure. It fits way better. It's more comfortable. I think the upper is on point. Like in terms of touch, it's as good as any thin synthetic boot out there.
Totally agree, yeah.
Where it's lacking is in the weight department, especially considering it's a speed boot. Mm-hmm. And while I like the sole plate and I like the stud pattern, it could get better.
I actually love the fit of the Furon, the whole silhouette of the boot, the way it has such a pointy toe box. The upper is super thin, really it's slightly stretchy, and it basically feels really, really nice. It feels like the OG Vapors in terms of how close to the ball you are. I just really dislike the outsole. The whole tooling, it's stiff in places where it shouldn't be stiff, I feel, and it's just the studs could be longer. I like the stud shape. I feel they do a pretty good job, but they could simply be longer because they might be shaped nicely for acceleration, but if they're not long enough, I tend to slip wearing the Furons, and I don't like that. So overall the fit is just, it does feel in every way like an older Vapor, good and bad.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
But with a softer upper.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's sweet on the ball, but for me it's the weight and the tooling that basically drags it down from being a very, very high scorer, because it's a lovely boot.
Yeah, no, it's a solid boot, but in the speed category it's lacking in too many areas.
Yeah, exactly. And let's put it this: I also don't really like the lockdown because of the central lacing. It's not very deep, and I would probably prefer that.
Yeah, no, it would make sense for the lacing system to be longer, but that seems to be New Balance's thing right now.
Yeah. Because that can lead us to talking about the Tequila, which is a great boot. What have you rated that at?
That is one of my personal favorites. Like if I was making a top 5 of boots that I like to wear right now, that's on that list. So with that slight bias in mind, because I do realize that it is flawed in a lot of ways, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay. I have given it an 8 out of 10 because I like it in a whole lot of ways, and I think it does a lot of things right. But I'm interested to hear why you only gave it 7 then.
Well, I think it's lacking, again, when it comes to weight. It's one of those boots that based on how they feel on your feet, I think you'd expect them to be a lot lighter. They're not. Yeah. It is one of the, I don't want to say heavy because they're not heavy, but it's one of the heavier top end models out there right now. Yeah. I like the flexibility of the sole plate, but at the same time, it's almost too simple. And then the stud pattern, I just think is, again, just way too simple. Something a little bit more aggressive. I could go a long way in terms of the appeal. Plus, it has the shorter lacing system, which does lead to, I think, more sloppiness in the upper than it needs to have.
I agree.
But other than that, I like everything else.
With that said, the upper is sensationally comfortable. I mean, the bit of foam they have, obviously the synthetic is really, really nice. The whole kinetic stitching actually gives it a good structural integrity. I was a little bit worried about that when I saw the boot for the first time because the upper was so flipping soft. And then the foam padding, on the inside, the whole inner liner package basically means that you get a flexible, soft, very cushioned sensation around your foot. So for me, it's just like the Tequila is a slipper. Basically, it's super wide. It's not for my foot because I have slim feet, but I think it's a very, very comfortable boot. I like the color. It's not really in the way, but it just gives this. You feel that there's material there. And it's nice. It doesn't slide too much around. I agree with you on the outsole. I think the studs could be more interesting. But on the other hand, they do a job in terms of having it like a smooth ride, if you know what I mean. It's just a super comfortable boot.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about that is everybody's striving for this sock-like feel, and everyone's trying to do that with knitted uppers. But the Tequila without a knitted upper is arguably the most sock-like feeling boot on the market right now.
Yeah.
It's up there at least.
It's one of those it's one of those plush socks that I would probably give to my girlfriend for her to, sit on the couch under a blanket and be really cozy with. It's a cozy boot, the Tequila. It's probably not one I would wear in a hardcore performance situation, but it's just so comfortable, it's unreal. And on the ball, I actually reckon it's pretty good. It's got a sticky upper, and I like it. Let's put it that. I would definitely rate it above average.
Yeah, and bonus points for me. I personally think it's a great looking boot, but
I agree. Little bit too wide, but that's how it is. But it's definitely grown on me. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So New Balance definitely seems to be heading on an upwards trend at the moment.
Yeah,
Let's hope it stays that way.
Obviously, it's also pretty easy for them because the boots they came from were disgustingly bad, just to put it as it is. They've been terrible. The SR4Us and the Furon 3 was. It's been a mess, man. But thankfully they're really showing good signs right now. And if they can fix the Furon, make it a little bit more relevant to the speed people out there, because they have something going for them. They just need to fine tune it, I feel, fix the sole and get a little bit deeper lacing, and they might have a pretty good alternative to an actual synthetic alternative to the Mercurials and the X's.
For sure. So okay,
yeah,
that's New Balance.
Moving on then to Under Armour. Your favorite brand, apart from, Joma. Let's start with the Spotlight, because they made this big change to the Spotlight. They actually removed the zipper.
Yeah. To be fair to the Spotlight, because technically it's the Spotlight 2, even though it's not on the official title. Mm-hmm. The zipper boot is not actually bad.
No, that's the funny thing.
It's just the concept of putting a zipper and the way that the boot looks because of it is just so dumb. It makes absolutely no sense. But the core structure of the boot is actually pretty decent. However, the new modified version with the full lacing system that's exposed, it's decent. But again, it's one of those boots that I almost feel like it's not better than your other options. So why would you buy it?
I totally agree with that. Again, upper's nice, actually pretty soft. I like the tooling a lot. Feels like it has a good stiffness to it. Outsoles, the stop pattern's decent. Relatively wide fit. You know, it's comfortable. I wouldn't mind it, but it wouldn't be anywhere at the top of my list looking at speed boots or boots in general. And for that reason, I've given it a 6.
I think a 6 is fair. I would be pretty much same rating. 6 out of 10 is fair.
Yeah. Yeah. What about the Magnetico then?
See, the Magnetico I think is a cool boot based on experience. It's probably one of the more unique options you have out there in that you kick a ball and you realize, oh my gosh, it doesn't feel like I'm wearing any shoes whatsoever.
Exactly, yeah. I also felt the same way the first couple of times I tried it. Then it broke. It just fell apart. Like the upper split from the outsole and ripped, and you know everything was wrong. And I thought, okay, shit happens. Let me try a new one. So I got a new one, and the upper ripped again. And I was like, if this is happening to the upper, what is going to happen to my foot next? So I haven't worn it since. But up until that point, it was a really unique sensation. It was almost too thin for me, if that makes sense. I know we've been talking about the barefoot sensation for a number of years is just the way to go. But I almost felt like I needed some sort of liner material, to be honest.
It is. Yeah, they do feel unsafe. The funny story, the first time I wore them, I started juggling just in the warm-up. I'm like, wow, these feel really cool. So I stalled the ball on my right foot, and then... Is it around the world? I'm so bad with the freestyle names. You guys, you would know for sure. But stall the ball, jump, and then kind of go around the world with your other foot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I ended up just ever so slightly clipping my foot with the bottom of the studs.
Ooh.
I almost just left and went home after the warm-up. I'm like, there was the only boots I had brought that day for some reason. I'm like, I don't know that I want to go out there with these because...
Man, that's the worst. That's the worst, yeah. I know what that's like, by the way. You know, whenever we have to do freestyle or tricks, I usually clip myself on the ankle bone. And just, you know, I have all these bad cuts from kicking myself.
It can happen. But it's one of those boots.
It happens.
Like, I almost feel like I've worn kind of heavily padded socks that felt like they offered more protection than those.
I feel the same way. And for that, you know, I want to appreciate everything Under Armour have done with it. And it's like that upper is spectacular because it's so thin, it's so soft, it's a little bit elasticated, I feel.
Yeah.
It just feels like a second piece of skin. I might not necessarily like it, but you got to appreciate it for what it is. For that reason, I've given it a 7.5 out of 10.
I was going to go 7 based on...
Okay, fair enough.
It fits well. It offers a feel that I don't think you can get from any other boot.
Exactly.
The traction is solid.
It's okay,
but
it's no big deal. It works
for how it fits and feels. You would expect it to be a lot lighter, and it's just not.
No, but to be honest, it feels very light on foot because you don't really realize there's anything there. Slap it on a thinner outsole, and I reckon it would be super light.
Yeah, and then as much as I like boots that have a traditional construction with just the laces down the middle and a tongue, that tongue slides over so easily on that boot. It just, I don't know. It's one of those things drives me nuts.
I don't really mind. I know it's driving you absolutely crazy, but I don't really mind that in the heat of the moment. It's just a little bit annoying to me.
Yeah.
But fair play. Let's move on then to Umbro, which I've kind of been excited to talk about the Umbro boots, because you know, Umbro are. I don't want to say they're a bit like New Balance because they actually make decent boots all around, and it's not like they haven't been super bad and then actually really decent. But I just feel like Umbro, there's more potential in their boots.
Well, you know what? It's a weird company because they were in their heyday. They were actually making some really unique, innovative stuff.
Oh man.
Then
Back when they make the X boots and SX and
yeah, like that was
boots.
they had cool stuff. And then Nike bought them out and pretty much just took everything that had any kind of value to the brand.
Yeah.
And then sold them off. And I think the recovery process has been a little bit tricky for them.
I agree.
But I think they're as good now as they've been in a very long time.
Also agree. And I think the whole, the whole intent they came in with the Medusa 3 Elites, being the first laceless leather boot to be, should we say, revealed. Well, technically it wasn't because we had the F50.7 never came in. That wasn't leather, right?
I don't think so. I think the laceless version was only synthetic.
Then it is truly the first laceless leather boot out there. I think that was nice. If we start off with the Medusa 3 Elite, I think it's a decent boot. It's very light, impressively light actually. Not a fan of the outsole. Studs are simply too short for me. And the fit is like it's also up against some very unfair competition, so we put it like that. Had I tried this 3 years ago, my mind would have been absolutely blown. But because laceless boots are now what they are, thanks to Adi, I think it's lagging a little bit behind because it feels like it's just a shell you put on your foot. And then from there on, if it doesn't match the shape of your foot, you're done.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of stretch on the collar, and the leather is, I would say, decent.
Yeah, it's not Copa leather by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh,
it's more of like that harder. I'm not even sure how to describe it. It doesn't feel bad. It certainly feels a lot better once you've broken them in a little bit. But
Absolutely.
yeah, it's one of those boots that's like it exists as an alternative to an Adidas laceless option, but whether or not it's something that you're actually going to want to go and buy, hard to say. The thing that it has going for it is that it truly is the lightest boot on the market right now.
Oh, by a margin.
Like that's the first thing when I picked that boot up. I was excited just to see what they were like, but then I realized like, oh my gosh, these things don't weigh anything.
Yeah. And that's maybe also a little bit of a problem for it because it feels like there's not much, structural integrity at all to the boot because it's just been trimmed down so much that I don't feel that the lockdown is anywhere close to what I want it to be. And also, of course, close to what I know you can get in a laceless boot with the Copa and also the Nemesis, which has decent lockdown. So
yeah,
I was a little bit disappointed in that. I don't know what you have rated it. I'm a little bit harsh.
Because you know what? I expected it to kind of fit very badly, and it doesn't fit it doesn't fit bad at all, but it doesn't fit as well as I was perhaps hoping it would. So based on just fit and the stud pattern kind of just being a little bit iffy, 6.5 out of 10 I think is fair.
Yep. I would agree. I gave it a 6, but I could be tempted to go to 6.5.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of peace.
Yeah, but they do make the Pro version, which is basically the exact same boot. I do have the Pro version. Do I have it around me? It is somewhere around me.
Look on your floor.
It's a completely different story. Yeah, it's on the floor somewhere. But
it's always 80% of your collection.
Yeah, so it's the Pro version is good. It fixes the issue with the fit. The leather is the same. The weight increases very slightly. We're talking a couple of grams. The stud pattern is still a problem, but I would bump that one up to probably a 7. I think it's a solid boot, especially if you like something really light.
I was actually gonna go a little bit higher because I've not played in it, so it's a little bit hard for me to rate. But I've tried it, and I actually felt like okay, this could do a job for me. Really comfortable, nice that you can actually adjust the fit. Leather feels like once it's broken in, if it's the same leathers on the Elite, I would really like it. And it has this, we talked about this before, it had this OG F50 Adizero leather, the Adizero second generation, the orange and black one. It feels a lot like that one to me.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I'm gonna reserve judgment until I've played in it. But just from like an initial fit and feel perspective, I would actually have it as an 8. Because it's just a solid, light leather boot.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know how it performs, so I'll let you decide.
Sure. What else?
So you said 7.
Umbro?
We go with 7. I trust you.
Sure.
So then we have the UX Acuro 2s and the Umbro Velocita. What are we at 4 now?
Okay. Well, these I think we can go pretty quickly on. UX Acuro 2, kind of a train wreck, if I'm being honest. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it fits weird. I think it looks bad.
It's just a cheap boot.
It's like they took the original Magista Opus 2 with the pimples, and they're like, let's make that worse.
Let's go. Send it to China, get someone to make a cheap knockoff of it. It doesn't make sense because the first Acura was really nice. I liked it a lot, and then they just 5.5. Sorry, Umbro, but 5.5. You can do a lot better.
That's generous. I'm on 4 out of 10.
But you're also a bit of a prick sometimes.
I am a bit of a prick. But I just like that's just one of those boots where it's like I couldn't see anyone saying I want that over everything else.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Okay. Velocita.
Solid boot, comfortable. It almost suffers from all the same issues as the Furon V5.
Yeah, I agree. It's totally the Furon V5 and is basically just, I hate one thing about it, and that's the color, which is a little bit too sharp for me. So it basically digs a little bit into my heel. I'm not too fond of that. Yeah. Upper's nice. Outsole works. A little too short studs, but it's cool.
My criticism of that is while the upper feels pretty good on your feet because it is soft, it kind of the boot as a whole strikes me as being a little bit cheap.
Yeah. The execution just feels, the execution, the design choices they made, it does feel a little cheap. It does feel a little cheap. I agree with you. Same as the Acura, basically, but a better overall execution. And it's, as a boot, it's just sexier than the Velocita, basically.
Yeah, so I'm going to give that... What did I give the Furon? A 6? I think so.
Yeah.
I'm
6.5, I think. Yeah, I was going to go with 6.5. So I could be persuaded for 7, but 6.5 I think would be fair.
Cool. All right.
Okay, then we move on to our new best friends from Lotto.
Oh, we're going over Lotto. They weren't even on my radar when we were.
We have to go over Lotto, dude.
Yeah, they're very relevant
with
right
the
now.
recent discovery you and I have made, and I think we're basically the only ones on YouTube talking about these.
Yeah.
The Maestros and the Solista 200s. Basically, both of them available, I think, at Unisport store right now, around 100 euros. Basically, it varies a little bit from week to week, but you can get them for around 100 euros or less if you're quick. What would you rate the Maestros at? The
Maestro, I think, is really solid. It reminds me a lot of the Hypervenom Phantom 1.
Yes.
The upper is, I don't want to say a copy, but very similar in terms of being that kind of mesh-based material.
Yeah.
It fits well. It's relatively lightweight. Sole plate and stud pattern is solid. They're inexpensive. Mm-hmm. I think it's a solid 7.5 out of 10.
That low?
Because I still don't. I still almost view it as kind of a budget option.
True.
Because it's a really solid boot, but then you compare it to something like a Vapor 12 Pro, which kind of falls into the same category.
And
which one would you rather have?
This.
Yeah?
By far, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I love them.
I would too, but I'm not sure that that's what other people would think.
But okay, I get that. But I mean, from a pure, performance, fit, feel, where are they compared to what the price range is? I think it deserves to have a pretty high rating, just looking at the value for money you get in the Maestros. Mm-hmm. I rated it at an 8.
We're 0.5 off.
Yeah. It just sounds better than a 7. Solista, I'm at a 7.5 because I actually think it's a light boot, 190 grams in a size 42.5. Super soft upper, very very what do you call it? It's I'm looking for the word here. It's pliable. It's pliable. What a lovely
That's what I was
word.
just gonna say.
Yeah. It you know, it has this super low profile. Feels like a 2019 version of the OG F50 Adi Zero. Not as light, but feels really good. Lovely fit in the heel. It's just a well performing speed boot.
Yeah, solid
Very
boot.
underrated.
I'd give it a 7, just slightly below the Maestro.
Okay. Man, you're a tough nut to crack.
I'm tough.
I wonder if you are going to give out any 10s.
Oh, there's no 10s. I'm not giving any 10s.
No?
Absolutely not. Are you crazy? You think
I'm
someone has achieved perfection in the football boot industry?
No, but I would say that the 10 is given for me. I was thinking, okay, if the boot that's gonna get a 10, if there's any boot that deserves a 10, it would be in my like top 2, top 3 boots I've ever tried range. That kind of thing, you know, because there's no such thing as perfect. So you know, if the 10 is reserved for perfectionism, then no boot will ever get a 10. And I feel that's maybe also kind of a shame. So yeah. Spoiler alert, there will be one boot scoring a 10 for me. Loyal followers of our channels will probably know what that boot will be. It's not necessarily a secret, but we'll get to that. Actually now, because we might as well jump into it. We're going to jump into Mizuno.
Wow, shocker.
Yeah, shocker. I mean, if any boot out there deserves to get a 10, it's a Mizuno boot.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you on it.
And let's just go with the first Mizuno boot, the Rebula 2, made in Japan's. Great concept, great idea. Actually, also a great bit of technology going into it with a whole, basically what we're seeing on the Jumbo Legends as well, with having some foam integrated into the leather up itself. Basically, you have the leather, then you have the foam, and you have the liner. So it gives a bit of structure to the leather. And obviously, it's Mizuno, so the leather is out of this world nice. But with the Rebula, I have a problem with my feet that every time I wear them, I more or less get blisters. And the fit is not, you know, the shape, the last used on the boot is not necessarily perfect for my foot, so I'm not super sold on it. It's a decent boot, but I expect it more from Mizuno, to be honest.
Where are you getting blisters on a Rebula?
On the heel.
Oh, on the heel.
Yeah,
man. It is one of those boots where it seems like there's a lot of padding, but as soon as you put it on, it compresses to nothing.
Yeah.
Which it's... I never had any blisters from a Rebula, but I can see how that would be an issue based on how they fit. Yeah, I'm not really sold on the shape of the boot. I feel like the volume is... There's lots of volume through the midfoot, but then the toe box almost gets a little bit too thin. It's a little strange. But I've been thinking about the Rebula a lot lately because I think it is a solid design, and there's like from a technical standpoint, what they've done, nothing is bad. But then I kind of compare that concept to what they used to do on the Supersonic series. And all the Supersonic boots I ever wore, which were kangaroo leather with the memory foam, I liked all of those a lot better.
Oh, the Supersonic was fantastic.
The sole plates were better. They were just better boots. So
yeah, and that's also, I think, a very important thing to recognize when you rate boots. That has the brand done something with this kind of technology that's been better executed in the past? And I would argue yes. I understand where they want to go with this, something modern, something innovative to really go head to head with the Tiempos and the Copas, but I think it's not as nice of an execution, and the fit is just not there. Touch is nice, but nah. I'm on a 7 out of 10.
I was gonna be the same spot, 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Solid boot if they fit you properly. Otherwise, not my pick.
Yeah, exactly. I think we agree. Okay, so moving on here to the Mercurial 2, MIJ, the OG, the classic, the Copa Mundial killer. What do we say here? What do we say?
Again, not a lot to criticize here. It's a Copa that fits a lot more modern, is a lot lighter, is I would argue better quality.
Oh, so much better quality.
I think looks a lot better as well. Not that there's anything bad looking about a Copa Mundial.
It looks sleeker, right?
I just think it's a great looking boot.
Yeah.
The premier boot to have if you want something classic, I would say.
Yeah. It's just one of the best made, put together boots out there. Yeah. Has one of the nicest, most plush, comfy leather uppers I can think of. And it's just, it's a fantastic boot. There's no two words about it. It's you pay a very high price, and also comparing it to a Copa maybe isn't that fair because the Copa is a whole lot cheaper, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just the most comfortable slipper-like boot out there for me.
Yeah. So from the perspective of not being able to criticize it,
yeah, I hate the tooling. Yeah, I'm a little bit more, hesitant, but I'm gonna go 8.5 because of the outsole. Yeah. Fix it, Mizuno, and we're on to a winner.
Fix it in what way? How do you think it needs to improve?
Make it more modern. I just need the studs. If they're conical, they need to be a little thinner, and the shape needs to be updated a little bit. And also, I want a bit more stiffness in the midfoot and a bit more flex in the forefoot.
Okay, that's fair.
Which leads us to the Merrell Neo 2. Which I personally prefer to the Merrell because it's just a little bit more sleek. But I also realized that there's like, I think a third or maybe 40% of the amount of leather on the Neo as there is on the Merrell 2. So like from a comfort level, it's nowhere close to the real Merrell 2. But I just think that it's a nice alternative for all the speed boot freaks out there who wants a boot at 185 grams. Lovely, thin, but still leather padded touch on the ball. You get a lovely fit around the heel, decent lockdown, very low profile fit. Sole plate could be better. But I love that boot. For me, it's also an 8.5.
Yeah, I think from a pure performance standpoint, like objectively looking at what that boot is capable of and the materials it's made out of, it's one of the best boots on the market.
Agreed. And
it's not my cup of tea. I don't particularly love how they feel on my feet, but I can understand why a lot of people really like them. For people that were huge fans of the leather F50 Adi Zeros back when that was super popular, this is that boot, but the quality is upped double. Like it's that much nicer. There's no comparison.
There is no comparison.
I'm with you on an 8.5.
And the reason I only do 8.5 and not that I don't go up to 9 is price and the fact that the Neo is very, very slim. So it's cool for me, but for basically everyone with a slightly flat foot is gonna have a tough time getting in.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a letdown. But for me, it could be, from a personal perspective, it could be a 9. But that's just because I'm a lucky, slim-footed fella.
Also, what we glanced over it? Very underrated tech thing across the board for Mizuno products is that gritty finish they have on the insole.
Yes, very good actually.
Yeah, and also they got the best insoles out there.
I totally agree with you. And also the fact that they actually they glue, double bond their boots. The made in Japan boots are built in hand in Japan. If you don't know, if you want to see how they're made, by the way, we've made a video on Unisport's channel where we go to the factory, see how they're put together. But they double bond their boots, which means that they take a little syringe and then they glue the upper and the outsole together, and then they let it dry, and then they glue it again. Whereas other brands just do that once. And also they're lasted for 24 hours as opposed to 20 minutes, which means they get a much nicer shape and the material softens up, so it's a lot more premium when you get it. I just love that about Mizuno. Is that attention to detail that makes it okay that you pay a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I'm a fanboy of Mizuno, so that's the way it goes.
No, they do good stuff.
Yeah. Last boot, and I know we said recent boots, but I just gotta take this with me because it's still out there. People still wear it. Wave Cup Legends. What can I say other than it's close to being probably one of my favorite boots ever. Favorite pairs of boots ever. I love everything about it. It's light. Has a very, very good outsole. Still, it's made in 2002. Still relevant in today's game. Nice acceleration. Good for braking. Good for changing direction. Upper is just ridiculously soft. Fits perfectly, low toe box, lovely padding in the heel, grabs the heel nicely, decent lockdown, lovely insole. I don't have, it's a 10 for me.
Is it 10? Yeah.
It's a 10.
If there's one boot that's going to be near a 10, that could be it. I'd give it a 9.5 because I just can't do the 10. But
That's fair enough.
It's what you described as the problem with the regular Morelia 2. It's basically that upper, arguably a little bit nicer, honestly.
I agree.
And then the sole plate and stud pattern is just better.
Because it has the softness and the plushness and the comfort from the Morelia 2, but it's just thinner and a little bit more streamlined and modern.
Yeah, they slimmed it out a little bit.
Yeah, I could do without the tongue. I know it's probably sacrilege, talking about a wave cup with no tongue, but I could do without it. But that's just, I still love it. Absolutely love it. If there's any way, guys, you can get your hands on a pair out there, do it. For the love of God, do it.
Yeah, they're solid.
Yeah. Okay, but I think we should move on to the big three, and I think we're spending a lot of time here, so we're just gonna keep talking until everything is done. And if you wanna hear our thoughts, just keep listening. And if you haven't done so yet, remember to like the video.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. So Puma. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the first one or look into the future?
Oh, we have to start with the one. It only makes sense.
It only makes sense. So what are you saying here?
I mean, 1.19.1 is not too far off 1.1.
Exactly. 1.1.1.1.
It's one of those boots that I think it's hard to criticize because there's technically nothing that wrong with it.
Uh-huh.
The low cut version. Oh, we're gonna rate the low cut version too. See, I like the low cut version right off the bat, but the mid cut variation, it has everything going for it. I can't complain about it from a lockdown perspective. It's probably the best on the market. Period. I'd give it a solid. While it's not my cup of tea, 8.5.
I gave it a 9 because I have nothing bad to say about it.
Yeah, it's hard to criticize.
Yeah. I mean,
and then the low cut version, while I prefer it, I'd have to give it like probably an 8 because it is technically flawed in a lot more ways. But yeah, I like the simplicity of it.
I agree, but still, I like that more. But I still rock the high cut version when I play matches because I just love that fit of the color. But that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And at €200, man, it's a sick boot. It's one of those options that everyone out there should consider, irregardless if they want a synthetic or a leather boot. It's fantastic value for money.
Yeah, no, it's very solid.
Yeah.
Puma Future. See, the more that I've had time in these, the more I'm a little bit down on them.
You like them?
No.
Oh,
I like the old one. I think I like the old one better.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Which is also the reason why I've given these an 8 out of 10 because they're still fantastic boots. I really, really like Netfit. I think it's one of the best things since sliced bread. And sliced bread, for the record, was really, really nice. But there's just something about the new upper. It's a little bit stiff from the get-go, and I just really like the 18.1s, the upper on that one. So for me, it's a little bit of a letdown, but still a fantastic boot.
Yeah, I like the upper on the old one a little bit more. And I think from the perspective that knitted boots are so popular now, it's just not on par with all the other knitted stuff.
I agree. The knit is simply not good enough from the get-go. It softens up very nicely when you break it in. So from that perspective, it's really good. And it does give you somewhat of I was going to say the Hypervenom 1.5, where they updated the upper so it became a little stiffer, but you didn't have as much rollover. Yeah. It kind of feels a little bit like a thicker version of that. So I appreciate it for what it is, but I still like the 18.1 more. With that said, though, Netfit is still fantastic. So it also definitely deserves to get a good rating out of that. And this sock is the best knitted sock in the game. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, no, they're solid boots. I'm with you on the 8 out of 10.
Solid. We move on to the German cousins from Adidas. Okay. Where do you want to start? I have. Oh, me. Nemesis.
Okay, Nemesis it is. See, this just, I think it needs improvement. It's not a bad boot. Mm-hmm. The laceless version is one of the better laceless boots I've tried personally. Mm-hmm. But it's still not a boot that has anything about it that I think is particularly attractive, or the sole plate and stud pattern is not incredible. The touch isn't amazing. The fit is just okay. I'm like 7 out of 10 on those.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, because as you say, there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, it doesn't tick any boxes that any of the other boots don't tick. For me, the first Nemesis was revolutionary because you really went out and proved that you could do a very nice fitting laceless boot that had the tight fit. It really incorporated a new, very easy to understand technology, and it did a lot of things right. It also did a lot of things wrong, but it did a lot of things right. But these days, I feel that the progression from the first to the second Nemesis, from 18 to 19 plus, there hasn't been that big of a jump, and the jump hasn't been big enough compared to what the other silos have done. So basically, Adi have taken all the learnings, all the USPs from the first Nemesis and incorporated them into all the other silos, which means that now the Nemesis 19 plus just isn't very unique. And for me, it's just a little bit redundant, because are you going to take a Nemesis over an X? Nah, you're probably not. I wouldn't. Going to take it over a Predator? No. Copa? Hell no.
Yeah, it's again, it's one of those boots. Why would you pick it over other options?
Yes, but it's not a bad boot, so I gave it a 7.
Yeah, 7 is fair, I think.
Then we move on to the X.
Which X you got? See, okay, well, I'll rate the laceless one right off the bat. I'm going to give the laceless one a 7. And that's
Same
only and that's only if it fits you well, and it does not fit me well. I don't know. It's for me the least interesting laceless boot Adidas currently makes.
I agree. And there's a very simple reason for that, and that, as you say, is the fit. Because if it fits you well, and it does for me, it's actually a very good boot. I was inclined to give it a 7.5, but I realized that a lot of people out there, they don't really fit the X that well. And then it's a bit of a nightmare, because the upper is a little bit too stiff still. I mean, I feel if they can fix the upper, make it a little softer, more pliable, and actually just maybe trim the boot a little bit down in the like the space department in the front of the boot, just somehow make it a little bit more accommodating for more foot types, then I'd actually be down with it. But for me, the fit and the accessibility to most people, and then the stiffness of the upper.
Yeah,
is the killer here, because I like it. It feels like an Adi Zero, but just without the laces. I like the plate is great.
Yeah, no, it's a solid boot, but when you're talking about a speed boot, it has to fit the part. If it doesn't fit right, then it's not a speed boot anymore.
Exactly. But then if you can get a boot where you can actually adjust the fit, it's a very good boot.
Yeah. X 18. Yeah, X 18.1.
18, yeah, of course. Sorry.
18.1. I would probably rate. That's my personal favorite from the Adidas brand right now.
Okay.
And honestly, I think I'd give those a 9.
A 9.
I like them that much.
Okay, yeah. I'm also, I don't really have that much to complain about with the 18.1, so I'm gonna give them an 8.5, simply because, again, the upper is nicer, but it can still be softer for me. That's the only thing I have, and the collar thing kind of creases when you put it on and bend your foot. I'm not too down with that, but it's nitpicking, to be honest. It's a great boot.
Yeah.
Okay. Nemesis. Should we talk Nemesis 19.1? I mean, it's like.
I think we can lump that in with the laceless one.
Yeah, I was
7 out of 10.
Yeah, I was gonna give it 7.5 because you get laces. You can adjust it as low cut. I like it a little bit more. I prefer it. Predator.
See, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the Predator necessarily. I don't love that it's the 19 is the same as the 18 generation was. It's a very, if you like the whole sock-like thing, the sock-like feel, it's very sock-like. The upper is extremely soft, and it fits pretty well. I don't like the sole plate. I don't care for the stud pattern. I feel like the boot just feels, I feel like the sole plate and the upper were not made for each other.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's the upper is too slim based on how kind of bulky and thick the sole plate feels. Yeah.
It feels like the tooling in general is more suited to the remakes than to the 19.1 upper.
Like had they carried the sprint frame over from the A17 Plus onto the Predator 18 and 19, I think the boot would have been so much better off.
Probably, yeah. That's an interesting line of thought. I actually like the Preds. I don't have. I mean, it's just not a wow factor when you put them on anymore. When they came out, because the fit was so tight and you still had the plushness, the softness of like a hint of a leather plushness because of how they made the upper. I really like that. And I think it's a very comfortable boot if you get it in the right size, but it also just it's just a knitted upper. There's a little bit of extra texture on the ball, but it's a good boot. I would say 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm with you on the 7.5. I think that's fair.
And for the 19.1s, I would give it an 8 because it's a little bit better. You can adjust the fit.
No, I'd stick with a 7.5.
Oh, really?
Ways. Yeah, I'm sticking with the same rating.
Man, you're a tough nut. Then we move on to the Copa.
Okay, Copa 19 plus. Again, one of the more unique experiences of any boot. I know you're a really big fan of this.
I love it.
It's the first laceless boot where I would say that I'd actually be happy to wear it. And it doesn't bother me. I'm still of the opinion that because of the laceless design, it does have its flaws in regards to fit and overall lockdown. But the way that it does fit, and again, it's laceless, so it'll vary from person to person. The softness of the leather, the way the leather does transition into that fusion skin area. The sole plate and stud pattern is truly, I think, a little bit uninspired, to be completely honest. There's nothing about it that's totally special. Agree. And the boot could do with being maybe a little bit lighter, especially given how thin the upper is. But, I mean, as a whole, I'd have to give it, for a laceless boot, and this is a high rating for me, I'd probably give it an 8.5.
That's a very fair rating. For me, the Copa is a little bit of a revolution, right? We talk about the leather, but unless you've actually had the leather in your hand and even more importantly on your foot, I think it's hard to grasp how ridiculously soft this is. And as you mentioned, the way they've made this fusion skin upper, which is basically the leather transitioning into the prime knit here, it just feels so smooth, and you don't feel the transition on your foot either. It's just like a leather glove that sits snugly around your foot, and I love it. It's really plush on the ball. And as you say, the only downside is the tooling, which is also the main culprit when it comes to the weight. If you could slap an X19, 18, 19, 18, we're still on 18, Jay. If you could slap an X18 plate on this, I would be down. And the rating would be very, very, very high. With that said, I'm on a 9 here. Yeah, and if it had been with the X outsole, we would be on a 9.5. It's that good.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And then for 19.1, while I don't think it's bad in necessarily any way, I'm not a huge fan of the way they did the tongue and the lacing system.
Yeah,
to be perfectly honest, I probably a 7.5.
I'm totally with you. Yeah, and this is the only silo where I would actually take the laceless version over the laced version.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, and then we move
very
on
quickly,
to
very quickly. Let's talk about glitch, real quickly. How would you rate glitch?
I think it's from a concept point of view, 9 out of 10. It's a brilliant idea. From a fit perspective, it's a good fit, 8 out of 10. But from he's just so heavy. And it's too much of a hassle. It's impossible to get on. Yeah. So I would say, it's not a bad execution. It's not a brilliant one. It was 6.5 or 7 out of 10.
6.5 is what I was going to say. Not better.
Solid.
Not for those that feel like they're missing out on the glitch. You're not missing out on the glitch. Don't worry about it.
With that said, it's a lot better than the whole two-knit system.
Yeah, for sure.
It had a lot of potential, but it's just too much of a hassle for me playing with it. And you could, you can buy either the pure what were they called? Pure Chaos or the Pure Speeds.
Yeah.
I mix up all the pures these days. Pure Chaos or Pure Speeds, which is basically just an assembled, stitched together version of the glitch.
Yeah. That fits better and is lighter.
Yeah, exactly. So with those words, let's move on to the swoosh, and I think we should start off with the kind of the dark horse that no one really seems to care that much about, the Premier 2.0s.
Oh, see, that's to me one of the best looking boots on the market. I have to say, I love the way they look. I mean, it's not spectacular in any way. It's kind of like Nike's answer to the Copa, but it's really not a Copa in any way at all. The leather is decent. I like the tongue, although you kind of could view that as a little bit in the way. The sole plate is very flexible, which I think fits the boot. The stud pattern is not overly aggressive, but makes sense given the style. The price is extremely fair.
Yep.
I think a 7.5 out of 10 is a very fair rating.
That's exactly what I wrote. It's comfortable. It works. Nice performance. I'd probably fix a lot of things, but it's just, for that price, I'm not gonna complain. It's just it's perfect for the price. One of the best value for money boots you can get out there after the Lotto boots.
Wait. How are we gonna rate the Premier and we skip the regular Copa Mundial?
Okay, let's go. Let's backtrack. How do you rate the original Copa Mundial?
I feel like it's a great boot and I love it and I would be happily wear it. But I think in comparison to all the tech that's been introduced in the football boot industry, it's technically flawed in a lot of ways. So I feel bad.
Watch out, because people are gonna come after you.
I know, but okay, I think 7 out of 10 is fair. Based on, I was gonna go 6.5, but I can't do that.
Nah, I'm with you. Like from a should we say objective point of view, it's a 6.5, but for pure nostalgia reasons, it's a 7 for me. I'm totally with you. Yeah.
Okay, good. We just avoided a major issue if we skipped over the Copa Mundial.
Back to Nike here. Which should we do next? Should we go Phantom? Vision?
Which one? Vision, your favorite. See, Vision, I really like the Vision. That's, for me, my personal favorite from the Nike brand. But I also recognize that it's kind of an ugly boot, which we're not really talking about here. The collar is super unnecessary.
Yep.
The fit is potentially an issue depending on the shape of your foot, based on what I'm hearing from a lot of people. The sole plate is not incredible, but okay. The stud pattern is okay. I love the feel of the upper. I like the extra texturing. I don't love the look of the lace cover, but from a feel perspective, it's not in the way. For me, it's really solid. I'd give it because I like it so much, 8.9. I'd give it a 9. I like it that much.
Whoa. Okay, we're pretty far off each other here.
Yeah, I expected us to be though.
I don't really, as you say, I appreciate the vision for what it wants to do and how it does it, especially with the whole micro texturing going on top of the boot. I really like the sensation on the ball from that, and I appreciate the large striking surface you get. I also understand where they want to go with quad fit. It doesn't really fit my foot. I had massive cramps when I put it on for the first time, and it took a good breaking in. Outsole is good. I actually like it for what it does. Great for all these little twists and turns, changes of direction. Pretty comfortable too. But I just have an issue with A, the collar, and B, the whole execution of the boot. It just feels like they saved a lot of money on it. They just cut down on the cost. It feels cheap, man.
Yeah, you think so?
I think it feels cheap. It looks cheap and it feels a little bit cheap from what I expect from Nike. And
it's very simple compared to what they've done with knitted uppers up until this point.
I agree. And it just also goes to show that, all the Vision players are changing out of the Vision. Bar Sergio Ramos, who's going from the Jumbo into the Vision, which I have no clue as to why he's doing. But Christian Eriksen didn't want to wear it. Went back to the Mercurial after wearing Opus for I don't know how long. Riyad Mahrez is back in the Hypervim 3s. Who else do we have? Phil Coutinho is back in the Mercurials. I mean, what is going on here? I can't be alone.
They can't seem to get too many pros to wear them for some whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's been. I'm a bit harsh here. I'm going into my Josh mode, and I'm giving it a 6.5.
Wow. That's okay. Hey,
I'm not a big. I understand that some people might like it, but I'm really not a big fan of it, to be honest. Sorry, guys.
That's fair.
Okay, Venom.
See, this is another one that's, I think, there's not many technical flaws about this boot. They took everything that was good about the Phantom 3. Mm-hmm. They improved it, I think, from a softness and comfort standpoint. Mm-hmm. They added a striking element without making the boots feel big and bulky like old T90 lasers were.
Yep.
The traction got better. The sole plate, I think, got better. They still maintained a very lightweight feel. Mm-hmm. I think maybe they made it a little bit too slim as far as the fit is concerned.
Okay, fair point.
But other than that, like it's another solid 9, I think. Like it's hard to criticize that boot.
I'm totally with you here. I'm totally with you. Probably my favorite Nike boot at the moment, slightly edging the Mercurial, but it's very, like, we're talking margins here, but it's just, the fit just makes you feel special. I'm going to say there's just something about the way this boot fits. Lovely striking on the ball. My only gripe is that this also feels cheap. For some reason, it feels like the materials used are just, it feels a little plasticky, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
It doesn't feel plasticky when you have it on your foot. It feels amazing on foot, and it performs really well. It just, I was expecting a little bit more again. It's just like a little, when you touch it, I don't know.
But I think that's partially due to the fact that it does have that little bit of a grippiness to it. Right?
It is this tacky sensation. You're right.
Yeah.
I fold.
One or the other. So.
Feels a little plasticky, a little cheap still, but
okay.
You can't have it all. It's a nice performing boot.
What's your rating?
9.
9?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's
9.
fair. So Tiempo,
another very. I seriously think that the Tiempo Legend 7 Elite might be the best performing kangaroo leather football boot ever created.
Okay, that's a statement.
You don't think so? Like you get the leather quality. Okay, it's not Mizuno leather quality, but it's on par with any high end boot. Like you're not gonna pick up a Tiempo Legend 7 and be like, oh, the leather sucks.
No.
Right? It's reinforced by, you have the internal cage, you have the fit mesh liner, you have the flywire cables, you have Flyknit, all working to hold your foot in place, which it does extremely well with the lacing system. Somehow all of that comes together and doesn't feel clunky on your foot or bulky or like a giant mess like you would expect it to be. The boots fit really well. They're comfortable. They're lighter than any past Tiempo models and pretty much lighter than 80% of the top end models out there. The traction is really solid. The sole plate is great. They added some Mercurial-esque elements to the stud pattern as well to make the traction that much more aggressive. And it's $230 in a world where everything is $300 plus.
Yep.
Where's the
best performing leather boot ever?
I think so. When you're talking about like lockdown and responsiveness, there's not an ounce of sloppiness to that boot.
I follow what you're saying. I still think for what it is, it's definitely one of the better leather boots I've tried ever. Because it's just so well rounded. But from a standout, it's not a standout performer for me. It does everything so well, but it doesn't have this extra little, the magic little padded sensation to it, or it doesn't feel, super streamlined like the Wave Cups do, or it just for me lacks a little bit of extra something to take it to a 9.5 or a 10 for me.
It doesn't have the simplicity and refinement maybe of something like a Wave Cup.
It's a great performing boot. I'm absolutely with you there, and it's going to be a really difficult thing for them to improve it, because it's more or less just there where, what can you improve here? Okay, you can make it a Mizuno Wave Cup. There you go. But it's a really difficult thing. So I've rated it at a 9.
I think a 9 is fair. I'm tempted to go 9.5.
And that's okay. I knew you would.
I think it's impressive, but I also don't think it's a 9.5. I think it's a 9. Because you're right in saying that while the touch is good, it's not the best kangaroo leather touch.
It's not like this mind-blowing, oh my God, what is going on? I feel like I'm better than I actually am. Sometimes, leather boots can do that to at least my head. Maybe I'm just easy, but, it just doesn't have that extra little kick mental edge to it that I find in other leather boots that I really like. But
that's fair.
Yep. So let's end off at, I think, the boot everyone's wanted to hear about. Sorry for taking, on the better part of, 1 hour.
It's going to be an hour episode, sorry.
So we've taken a long time to get it, guys. Listen, the Mercurials. Superfly
okay,
and
just
Vapor.
Put this Vapor and the Superfly together. Let's not even have this discussion. This is a dumb discussion.
For me, there's actually a difference. But I'll let you go first, and then I'll share my thoughts on it.
You know what? For me, I would say that the current generation of Mercurial is the most comfortable one for me to actually wear.
Yes.
But given the history of Mercurials, more specifically Vapor than Superfly, because I don't think that the Superfly, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but I don't think it's as important for the history of what the Mercurial line represents. The current generation of Mercurial, I think it might have been a mistake to go Flyknit. At least for the Vapor. Because I really feel like what the current Mercurials lack in is what the old Mercurials used to have. Like I think about a Vapor 10 or a Vapor 11, even a Vapor 8 and 9, and the touch that had is just better than what we have now.
I agree with you. So what would you rate the Superfly and the Vapor?
And then there's also this perspective that they're not as light as the Mercurials used to be or have been.
Yep.
And while the traction is still top notch, one of the most, if not the most aggressive stud patterns on the market, they're really kind of trickling a lot of that Mercurial stud pattern tech into their other lines, where I think you could make an argument that the Venom stud pattern is just as good, if not better, than the Mercurial one.
Mm-hmm. That's also my reason for rating the Venom as highly, because it has everything I like about the Mercurial plate, bar the anatomical shape that I really dig.
Right? Like, I almost look at the Venom now and I'm like, if this is going to be a thin Flyknit upper just like the Mercurial, I think this feels better than the Mercurial.
I'm tempted to agree with you. I mean...
Right? And the Mercurial still has that little bit of a stiffer feel that's kind of a signature of that line. But I think once you experience a little bit more softness with, let's say, 99% of the responsiveness that you get from the Mercurials, why do you want the stiffness just for the sake of stiffness?
I'm with you, and especially on the Vapor, I think this is what separates the Superfly and the Vapor for me. I like the cut of the Vapor a lot more than the Superfly. I'm not really a high cut kind of guy, but there is this like inexplicable difference in like the coating, the Nike Skin silicone coating they have on the side, where the coating on the Superfly is simply softer. I mean, the gradual shift from being a full coating on the bottom to being like this, no coating at all on the top of the sock, it's not, it takes, should we say, less distance for it to gradually shift to being the no-coated area than it does on the Vapor, meaning that the Vapor is a little bit stiffer, higher up the sides than the Superflies, and thus a little bit less, they have they take a little bit longer to break in. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
English, it's difficult sometimes. Okay. But with that said, I think I totally agree with you. The Vapor is the most comfortable it's ever been. And because it's a really comfortable boot, it's very accessible to everyone, even people with wide feet who have had trouble historically getting into the Vapor can actually fit this. And it stays true to the relatively tight-fitting last of previous Vapors. Stud pattern is, in my opinion, still the best, most aggressive, versatile stud pattern for a player looking for that push-off, should we say, acceleration, responsiveness. Really like it. Anatomical play feels good. Probably all in my head. But I still like the Vapor 11s more. because it had that super thin synthetic upper. That was just a little bit, it fit you a little bit tighter. It felt a little bit thinner, and it had that true vapor, barefoot-like, connected to the ball, crispy feel.
Yeah.
I love the Vapor 12s, but for me, you know, it could have been a little bit more if they had just kept the Vapor 11s. So, I'm going to end on a 9.
That high.
That high, yeah. Because I mean, it's still one of my favorite boots. But I'm gonna go 9, and I'm gonna give the Superfly, despite actually probably preferring the softness of the upper, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 because I don't like the color.
See, the Mercurial is tricky because it's one of those boots where it is a best in class for speed boots.
Yes,
like it's the best traction, it's the most responsive. It's not the most comfortable. It's certainly not the lightest, so you can knock it there. But traction and responsiveness are a big part of what makes a speed boot.
Yep.
But then there's also so many things that it just doesn't do as well as what they've done in the past. So for me, collectively, on Vapor and Superfly, I'd give them the same rating anyways. Mm-hmm. I think I might be a 7.5. And that's. I mean, it seems crazy to give it that rating, but I think that's my rating. Sorry.
I would say that's almost friendship over material right there, man.
This is the last episode of the Boot Nerds podcast. Episode 12 coming never.
It's a fair point. I understand where you're coming from. I don't agree. You probably don't. That's fair. But you know, it's an interesting point of view. But I think also it's interesting to see how many players are actually switching into the Mercurial now.
That's the thing. It's still so popular that I can't say that it's bad because it's clearly not. Mm-hmm. But I really think that they've taken it in a direction that is too far away from the original concept.
I agree. And it's like there's no really any point in separating the Superfly and the Vapor anymore other than, you know, you can get a collar and you can get a low cut. It's a little bit of a shame. But
I'm not to extend this podcast any longer, but I think we should remember back when the Vapor 12 and Superfly 6 came out, that there was a lot of pushback from pros switching into that boot.
Yeah.
Most guys did not switch for the first month, 2 months.
Exactly.
And okay, I'm done.
So am I. So basically, what was the highest rated boot for you, Chimpo? 7.5? 9.5.
No,
of course.
I had a few 9s. I think I had the Tiempo, the Venom, the Vision, both at 9. And I had the Morelia 2 at did I say 9? I might have said 9.5, but I think the Morelia 2 might have been my highest rating, actually.
It's a brilliant. Yeah, I think you said 9.5.
I think so.
There you have it. My highest rated was a Wave Cup Legend, also Mizuno. So there you have it, guys. Mizuno's the best boot out. I think we got some fair points through here. I would love to hear what you guys, the regular listeners, everyone who's basically come in to listen to this episode. By the way, thank you so much for sticking with us for like an hour plus. But I'd love to hear what you think. So of course, leave all your comments on how crazy we are with our ratings in the comment section right down below. Also, remember to actually ask questions because we're going to answer those next time. We promise.
Yeah, we'll probably just do like twice as many questions in the next episode.
Yeah, we might just do that. We're going to figure all of that out. Of course, please don't forget to like the video. It's going to help us so much in getting discovered out there, spreading the word of the best podcast on YouTube. If you want the audio-only version, as per usual, you can go and find it in the description or simply just go to bootnerds.com and find everything you need right there. Finally, I just got to say that if you want to see more of what Just does, he does videos on a daily basis. They're pretty awesome. He's also funny sometimes. You can go and click his subscribe button sometimes right over there. If you want to see what we're up to at Unisport, I'm not very funny. It happens. You can click our subscribe button right over there. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the best podcast on the planet by clicking the subscribe button in the middle. And with that, say, I'm JayMike, and I support this message.
I can't match that enthusiasm, but thanks for watching.